So I had a conversation with somebody. I don't know that it's important who it was, but his name is Aaron. So talking about a history of control and isolation, how somebody doesn't have the vessel for the stimulation of connection and relation because it's called information. Somebody's forming. So even if it's the blessing that what you really long for and consider good to you, and you're unburying it from denial, if you're stuck in the history of control and isolation, then you won't have that vessel. And then the idea that singularity, meaning, purpose makes me happy, and that's obviously without control and isolation. And there were times where I didn't control or isolate when I needed to. So maybe sometimes we have to get it out of our system. Better not to keep accumulating the need to isolate from something that wasn't healthy, and then we might need to isolate even when it is healthy. So the skills of relation and connection require us to bridge that gap that's inside. For example, the feelings. Just because someone's angry doesn't mean you get away with whatever you want. That you're not relating, you're not connecting. And then think about what motivates me. Like he asked me what motivates you, so I said the promise of reward, pleasure, novelty, beauty, encouragement that I can make a change, a difference, that I can achieve, and that I can change. Upbeat music, positive music, meaning, density, depth, synchronicity, hashgacha pratis, which means divine orchestration of the details. Hope and faith of a better future. Past success, the memories, and also non-judgmental companionship. Avoidance of seemingly discomfort, pain, loneliness, humiliation. And then he said, what shames you? So I said, feeling like I'm fat or ugly or hairy, making a dumb mistake in an area that I thought I was an expert in, feeling unlovable or undesirable, unchosen, unsexy, unwanted, unattracted by someone, my poop smelling bad, people knowing I was a fool who got betrayed, like a public disrespect or mistreatment, used without my knowledge, where I misinterpret the other's agenda for something sincere, like whether it's care or consideration or thoughtfulness, only to be disappointed. And then sharing from Chovos halevovos, chapter 3 and 4 of the 8th treatise. So this is written by Rabbeinu Bachya ibn Pekuda, and what it talks about is people who desire more than their proper portion and seek even what doesn't belong to them, the world withholds them from their portion in it and doesn't produce for any of them even their portion in it. Therefore, they're not content with it, and there's not even one who doesn't complain and weep because they seek superfluous food. They were prevented even from the basic necessities, except through tremendous toil and great exertion. Good bearing versus bearing begrudgingly. So the second does not attain atonement, reward, forgiveness for the suffering. So either you bear suffering well or you bear it with begrudgingly. And if you bear it well, it could be an atonement for you. 1, for serving God. 2, as to not rebel against God. And 3, from afflictions of the world. So from afflictions of the world could be bearing for a loss or bearing for the lack of someone loved, of something loved. So it's possible that our suffering is a punishment for our sin that we committed, or it could be a test or a trial that will increase our reward. Whichever way, it is proper to willingly receive what comes from God with good acceptance, that it's really a kindness and truth. And then the analogy that's given is that, let's say you have, like, behind, above your head, there's this wondrous image, and we're considering this the wisdom of the Creator and His power and the beauty of the hidden upper world. But you can't really see it. You just need something in front of you, a sheet of polished metal, like a mirror, whereby its darkness is removed so that it could be reflecting. And the soul, which is polished by guiding it in the wisdoms and the intellectual Torah morals, will now reveal that wondrous world and the wisdom and beauty of the upper hidden world and Hashem's power. And in Chinese medicine, I found this mostly on Wikipedia. that and other places, but just we'll give Wikipedia the because you can find this all over. There's 3 treasures. One is called jing, which is the vital substance, the essence. Then there's ki or chi, which is vital energy, and then shen, which is spirit. Then we have yang and yin. Yin is congenital. It's called prenatal or before birth from the mom, or we don't say from the mom. And then yang, which is postnatal, or we would call acquired, nurture. So the father's sperm and the mother's ovum. And postnatal would be considered food, water, oxygen, environmental, and social conditions. It's all considered part of one category. Then we have the correct attitude for the practitioner. This is from the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine. A practitioner must have sincerity, compassion, and a sense of responsibility. Then there's something called defensive chi or ki, and nutritive ki. So hot, cold, warm, and cool. This is defensive medicine types. And I just want to say that defensive is like to not, and so defensive is to keep you healthy from what's out there, and nutritive is where you take in. And then they have something called cold chi medicines, which are used to treat invasions that are hot in nature. And then they have hot chi medicines, which are treat invasions that are cold in nature. And then jing, which was the essence of vital substance, is consumed continuously in life. It's associated most with the kidneys, and when we think about it, the kidneys are always like processing out, like filtering out. And then the prenatal one is very difficult to be renewed. Prenatal jing. So when you're born with it, kind of. And then it's said to be completely consumed upon dying. But that's why, and then things that cause it to be consumed would be stress, everyday illness, substance abuse, and sexual temperance. Now, I also want to share from 12-step meeting, CODA and SLAA. How commitment, like uncertainty. So this was a big issue I had in a relationship where I felt like the choice I was making was from options, not because of dependence. For example, I made like a one-man-woman agreement with Aaron. This was a man I was attempting to date to see if we could date for marriage, but it didn't feel like he was able to agree to that because I don't know that he had choices. And when we think of resources, we have ourself and this adaptive emerging self, and this is through self-care, self-consideration, self-importance, and then we matter, self-mattering, self-attunement, self-regulating, and presence with ourselves. And that's where stability, communication, and permission come, for example, to rest. And this is availability that is always accessible from inside out, if not one, then another. Like, basically, I'll always find someone who will help. I'll always figure a way out. It'll always be okay. Versus this over-reliance or addiction, this could be because of shame of myself. I won't be okay. I'm not good enough. Or doubt, shame that I'm not good enough. Or doubt, I don't know, I'll be okay. God forbid. And we need that one person because now they're the make it or break it. I don't have that internal self-adapting, emerging, real self resource. So we resource from the outside to get connected to the source, like resource. So it comes back to our source. But the source is we could connect inside. To the point that if we continuously expect someone to provide it, it's at their expense, right? Their own self-care seems to be less important and a priority than mine. So unfortunately, we actually don't end up saying that self-care matters when we're forcing someone else to take care of us, because then their own self-care can't matter. So believing in someone's dreams, but not discrediting my own personal upbringing, which, for example, why they're currently couch surfing could be something that's valid for them, like this man I'm thinking about, Aaron, and versus like my standards and values about what a man is required to provide, like the finances and the home. So this is the idea of rushing, not rest, basically it's the idea of not rushing and not rescuing. And there's also an idea of relating consciously or isolating, and about making myself healthier. So relating consciously could be difficult. It's like when I was doing an exercise and it just got so hard, and it was like, could I do this? But it's like, I can. So this relating consciously comes from staying conscious while the connection's happening, instead of isolating, which then makes the person less capable. And this is what we call post-traumatic growth sometimes. I'm not going to say this is what I learned in the meeting, but I'll say I did attend a summit once called post-traumatic growth rather than stress. So recovering from trauma, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, sexual, or you identify the trauma in another way, there's this pressure that got trapped inside from being stuffed down. And we might say it's like substances. or it's like life or death. We have to release steam. And when it's hysterical, it might be historical. So thinking of things like separation anxiety or nervousness about loss or feeling out of control and seeing how strong the other is, alone time to process and integrate and decompress, because maybe interaction and engaging can be too stimulating. So in all these situations, it's like this learning, and we're learning information rather than blaming. So we're seeing, maybe when we feel out of control, we're learning about that. Or maybe when we feel anxious about being separated, we're learning about that. Or maybe when we feel nervous about loss, we're learning. Maybe when we feel like we need that alone time, we're learning. And then we learn to express what pleases us, our limits of displeasure, while also not expecting the other to change. So this is relating consciously. It's like kind of the giving up of control, and it's also not isolating. And then, of course, this holding space idea, well, first starting with ourselves, because extreme shyness, that I used to experience, whether it was with my body, like if I was naked, even in front of women, when I was exercising in front of anyone, or dancing or singing, but then also like holding space, not just for myself, what shows up, but in terms of what companionship is you're able to lower your guard. So the space is a place the person could actually be when they're not on guard. And that's like the home for me, home. And the last thing we'll do today would be from a therapist aid resource. So therapist aid resources, like things you could print and find online, and they're available. This is skills for coping with anxiety, because I mentioned loss. Like, for example, right now I'm dealing with somebody who I'm very shocked. I've been in touch with a couple years, and he just decided that he might be interested in me and he wanted to date me for marriage, but then he doesn't want to let go of the previous person, and that's not my job. That's for him to decide. I don't want to feel used. And then I didn't feel he was romantic or courting me, pursuing, or making me feel special or chosen. I just felt like I had to fill the space. And then I kept trying to communicate with him, and I was taking up a lot of space talking, but he wasn't really like wanting to do phone calls. It was like voice notes. And then I was feeling like I wasn't met. He wasn't matching my energy, and he wasn't coming as a provider, and I was starting to lose respect, but then also feel like neither of us were respecting me, like my value. And I was feeling like my needs were not getting met, but I didn't have those needs outside the connection. I just didn't want to be taken for a fool. I didn't feel like when I cared about an animal that I was afraid was getting hurt, he didn't care about my care. Like, I wasn't saying that, but I've been caring about him and helping him to do good in the world. And it doesn't matter that his name is Shlomo, but I just felt so confused that he would want to throw me away because I lashed out because he didn't care about me. Like, the fact is that he could have had the opportunity. So, as we're doing this, so I'm not feeling anxious about it now. I just feel hurt. So, the anxiety that I had probably while I was trying to control things with him, so I didn't have to face the fact that he can't meet my needs. He's not making me feel special. But there was times where he asked me questions and I wasn't available then because he made a comment about some hairs growing on my chin, and I felt so hurt. I felt like that's how he's looking at me. Like, there's a version of me that's been so lonely without my husband, and this is the first thing he's going to say. If this is my man and he wants me to feel like he doesn't care about me, like, I really was considering him. I thought maybe this is the guy. Like, he's older than me, 14 years. I thought, wow, God gave an older man like the best gift, which is a younger woman who's very mature and wise, and at the same time is also like present with the sense that I'm learning about my emotions. So someone who's older could have more emotional, my poverty would be like in my mind sometimes, and when I'm distracted by emotions. So anyway, so anxiety coping skills, like the fact that maybe the irrational thoughts, we challenge them, like something bad will happen or I'll make a mistake. Even without evidence, this can impact our feelings. So when I came to him, like something bad is happening with the cat, and he couldn't help me by even caring, he just avoided. He was making me feel a sense of like anxiety about it when he could have said, like, I'm sure the cat's fine, everything's gonna be okay. Instead, he said, I don't want to enable you caring about a cat. And then I saw that he deleted me as a Facebook friend, but I only added him recently because he told me he's looking at my Facebook pictures and I'm pretty. And he was thinking about making me mine, except for making me his, except for this. And he's like, do you know how to cook and clean? And I was shocked because that's the least of it. I know how to take care of my whole apartment. I could, do a lot more. And, it's a shame. So even without evidence, these things can impact our feelings. And to reduce anxiety, we have to examine the proof and challenge our thoughts, put our thoughts on trial, gather evidence and support, verifiable facts only, and evidence against. So determining whether the thought is accurate. So for example, if I thought like, but nobody will ever love me, or maybe I ruined everything, or maybe I should have taken my time for another 2 weeks till the holiday of Rosh Hashanah, which is when I told him I was taking 40 days from a different man. Like, even though I know him for years, but we didn't really get talking so much till recently. And he did make some improvements. Like maybe I was too harsh. Like I did say I want more greetings, like before the Sabbath, after the Sabbath, and he was doing that and give me a blessing. And he made himself available for a phone call when he was busy once. But maybe I wasn't giving him enough credit. So it's like, did I do that? So the thing is that maybe, not everything's ruined forever. Even though he is impulsive enough to say he wants to be done and never talk to me again. So that. What the thing is what if I need him or something, right? So I guess I don't, right? If the person's not available, the resource would be to connect inward. So we use Socratic question, which is my thought based on fact or feelings? Is the thought that I'm losing out based on fact or feeling? It's a feeling, because I'm not losing out anything if there's somebody who doesn't care about me and doesn't want to be like a forgiving person. If I made a mistake when I was overly emotional because he was adding anxiety to my emotional state instead of helping, that probably wouldn't be somebody to rely on when I'm pregnant, having kids. And, how would a best friend see the situation? She might tell me, Shane, you deserve somebody who, gives you a chance to feel special, to feel courted, and like maybe orders you food to your house and then both of you are able to eat the same food together, even though he's in another country. How likely is it that my fear will come true, that I'll be alone? It's possible, because I have been alone a lot of the time, but I'll never be truly alone because there'll always be somebody else to talk to. Like a friend of mine called me today and we spoke about this a little. She gave me blessings. She said I deserve a nice guy. And what's most likely to happen? Most likely is we'll both get over these issues in some time. We may pick up again to talk, but there may always be that contamination, even though it turns out we're just maybe not compatible as partners. But the thing is that I think he felt hurt because he did ask me a lot of questions. Over time, I have been somebody who I think he felt close to, and then all of a sudden I'm so upset with him and cursing him out because I'm hurt and angry a few times because I felt like he's not providing what I want from a man, but really I'm getting over somebody who couldn't provide. So, I'm taking the time to take care of myself. And then finally, if my fear comes true, will it matter in a week, a month, or a year? And the truth is that in a week, I will still need to be exercising, doing my work. I should be more worried about paying my bills than about some guy in Israel who, can't decide what he wants and is afraid of getting his hands dirty in an emotional relationship with intimacy. And in a year, that a man wanted to use me, I hope I don't care about that. I hope that in a year from now, I'll be with somebody who isn't trying to use me, who wouldn't just want to just throw me away, who would say, no, I want to show up for you. I want to be there for you. Let's make your life easier so we can enjoy life together, rather than somebody who would be throwing me away the first time that I bring to him that I'm hurt about something. So he told me he deleted me on Facebook because he knows I don't want to be friends with men. So a person who would treat me like I'm just useless, worthless as a person, there's no reason to ever talk to me again, that's not somebody who deserves to have access to me. I shouldn't have to prove that he should want to. That's really the best way to leave off on this. So yeah, and in a month it will be 2 weeks after Rosh Hashanah. I have no idea what that brings. I'll be available after Rosh Hashanah. I believe I'll make myself available to be able to meet somebody for a marriage, for something real. So that would be something to see how it goes. So that's in a couple weeks. So in a month we'll see how I feel 2 weeks after that, a new year. So that's all for today, and wish you all the best. Bye-bye.